So you saw JCVD, huh?
Yeah.
You know, I was gonna watch it again last night, but I watched this other movie instead.
Oh. Well, that's all right. What did you watch? Just
I watched this movie called The Forgotten Kingdom. It's this Jackie Chan Jet Li movie.
Oh my.
It's this kind of like kid, you know, the main character is like this high school kid who like is all into kung fu and stuff, and then like he goes to this like video store where there's this like old guy who sort of runs it, and you know, the boy discovers this staff that this guy has in his back room, and he says, oh, it's nothing. And then of course it's a magical staff, and you have to return it. You know, he's the chosen one to return it to the Monkey King, which was this sort of monkey man who sort of fights on top of this like mountain, and like he's like undefeatable with his magical staff, and it's like a big fantasy
wow.
you know, martial arts movie. It was pretty good actually. I mean, you know, it's that kind of movie. You know, it's not high art, you know, story wise, but it's really solid, and a lot of good action things. I mean, what's cool is I didn't really know who all was in it. I knew Jackie Chan was in it, but it was sort of a surprise when Jet Li was there, and sort of in the story, spoiler alert, the boy has to sort of like take you know, he gets transported to what they call the Middle Kingdom or whatever. And which is where he meets these people as he's got to return the sword to the, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean the staff. But what's cool is, you know, Jackie Chan like finds him and helps him out, and that's like he becomes sort of his mentor. But then Jet Li comes to the picture, so he has like two mentors, and they like kind of fight about how to teach him and train him and stuff. And I thought that was really cool. You never really see that kind of story where it's like there's two mentors, you know, two sort of grand, you know, they're both like expert fighters and everything, and it was cool just to see the sort of like, no, we should do this. No, he's got to learn this first. No, he's got to learn this first, and it was cool.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That reminds me of this thing in the Dark Knight, the most recent Batman movie. The second one.
I'm getting better about that now. I'm getting a lot better. Now it's like if I didn't hear Begins, it's the second one.
Okay. Just wanted to emphasize. I thought that sort of the Morgan Freeman and the Michael Caine characters sort of both had the same plot function as a kind of conscience and sort of a mentor, you know, sort of an ethical mentor, I guess, you know, for Batman, and I think the problem I had with it is that, you know, they were totally redundant. They pretty much agreed, I think, and there's no sort of I mean, I don't even think the characters really met each other in the movie.
Yeah, it wasn't
but they both have the same kind of role, and I guess I thought, you know, that was like, I like the idea of having two mentors who don't agree.
Yeah, it was,
you know?
It was cool. It was cool to see that, and you know, that just makes them end up fighting and using their, you know, just. And then of course that puts strain on the kid, and he sort of doesn't want to do any of it anymore. So yeah, it was pretty well done. You know, I really like I like action kung fu, like martial art movies. I really like just seeing fights like that. You know, but so it had a lot of good stuff like that. And you know, I like all the fantasy stuff, and it was pretty good. I would probably give it, I'd give it 3 stars. Definitely give it 3. Yeah.
All right. Out of 4?
Out of 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's
pretty good. That's pretty good.
You know, I mean, it's the same kind of thing where, you know, it's kind of like one of those movies like from the 80s, you know, where like, he starts out and he's just like this nerdy kid, and he has problems with the bullies, and then he goes on this whole journey, and then when he comes back home, the bullies are there again, and he's got to like sort of step up and use what he learned. You know what I mean? It's that kind of formula of a story, but it's well done.
Right.
So what do you think of JCVD?
Well, so just as a little preface, JCVD is this movie I hadn't heard of until yesterday. Thanks to Claude here. And
I'm bowing.
It's a movie. It's like a sort of a French movie about or it's in French at least, mostly, and it's about a kind of slightly fictionalized version of Jean-Claude Van Damme. He sort of plays himself, and the basic plot of the movie is that he gets, circumstantially gets involved in this, bank robbery.
Yeah.
And is sort of taken hostage, but through various misunderstandings, the people outside think that he's robbing the place. That's pretty much what the movie's about. Most of the movie focuses on the robbery inside and outside, how people are reacting to it, how it's actually going on the inside. The bad guys, and how they interact with him, and all that. So anyway, it's a strange idea for a movie, and I guess I thought it was decent. There were parts of it I liked, and I guess I guess that I never thought it quite took off. I don't really know what I wanted from the movie, but to me it was kind of flat. It never really seemed to go anywhere. To me the robbery situation was sort of and then it turns into this hostage negotiation kind of thing. It didn't have a lot of tension to it. It was sort of, I don't know, it was very matter of fact, and so I wasn't really compelled by that. On the other hand, the stuff about Jean-Claude Van Damme, the actor person in the movie, it kind of felt, I don't know, it kind of felt shoehorned in there. It seemed like he didn't really belong in the plot. Like they could have had this movie without him. And the stuff that was actually about him was sort of, I don't know, it didn't even seem to be enough of the focus of the movie. I mean, there's this one point where they where all of a sudden out of nowhere he like starts giving this very, very long soliloquy to the camera as he sort of floats up, and it's this he tells about his life and for an extended scene, and like a lot of that stuff I felt like it just sort of came out of nowhere, and I guess I wanted stuff like that to somehow be incorporated in the movie, but it just felt like they just forced it in there in this really long scene, and that's sort of the only time I really felt like we got into his character. Most of the time it was a very external view of the whole thing, I guess I would say that I read Roger Ebert's review of it, and I agree with you that he kind of missed it. I think Roger Ebert's I think the reason why he missed it is because he's never been or had any affection for the movies that Jean-Claude Van Damme made in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't think he ever liked them a bit and had any sort of nostalgia for them or anything like that. I think that element is in the movie, and it gives it a little bit more weight than it had for him. So I think that's the part he missed. But I think on the other points, I pretty much agreed, and he gave it 2.5 stars, and that's pretty much what I would rate it as. I definitely liked a lot of aspects of it, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It didn't really compel me very much on its own.
Well, that's surprising. I'm surprised with some of the stuff you said about the plot. I thought, and I disagree, I don't think you could have the same movie without him, because the way the plot of the bank robbery is resolved has specifically to do with him and who he is, and the fact that one of the robbers is infatuated with him.
Yeah.
He's able to manipulate that whole situation because of that. The whole bank robbery, the bank robbery would have been totally different if he wasn't involved in it.
Yeah.
That was sort of the point, and the whole robbery did kind of stall because their plans got screwed up, and they didn't really have an exit strategy. So it was just sort of a waiting game, and then, yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. I don't know, maybe I thought a lot of the movie was really compelling. I thought a lot of the characters were great. What's the inspector guy or whoever the
guy with
the main
beard?
Yeah, the guy with the beard. I thought he was great. I thought the way we see him the first time, when we see the sort of external view of the bank robbery setup, he comes across as this sort of like no nonsense, hard nosed guy, and then when you see that sort of sequence again from his perspective and John Claude's perspective, you see he's kind of not like that, and he's got this whole other side. And I thought that was pretty cool, the way they did that. They showed a lot of layers, and then sort of throughout the rest of the film, he kind of flip-flops back and forth. I thought the taxi driver character was awesome. She had this like weird quality about her I thought was really interesting. The way when they're in that cab scene, when he says, he doesn't even finish his sentence, but he says like I'm kind of tired, and that from that one little thing he said, she goes on this tirade, and doesn't let up. And this is her idol. She's like, just furious with, but at the same time she loves him, and so I don't know. I thought that was really cool and interesting, the way that kind of came off, and sort of seeing his reaction to that, and just sort of being in that situation, I thought was interesting, and and how that relates to what she says earlier when the first time you see her with the video store guys, So I thought all that stuff was cool. I thought the bank robbers were really cool. I thought their characters were like really well done and really well defined, and it's the sort of main guy who was in charge. He was a little amorphous, but I think he was supposed to be. But I never knew what he sort of was getting out of any of this. He just sort of I don't know. But the sort of main bad guy I thought was awesome. I thought he was ridiculously interesting and cool, and his death scene I thought was pretty spectacular. I'd never really seen anything quite like that, and I thought it really worked for that character that's kind of how he would die, So I thought that was cool, and the soliloquy scene was to me what made the film. I love the fact that it comes out of nowhere, and to me it makes sense because he's confronted with death. I mean, he sort of doesn't have any way out of the situation, and he's realizing, well, he could sort of just die right now. And this is sort of, his internal monologue, and I thought it was a pretty creative way to express it, and it actually gave one of the this idea, you've heard before, but I thought it gave a very rational explanation for why, celebrities and movie stars do drugs. you know, and he talks about, you know, when you travel the world and you see all this stuff and you get all these crazy experiences and you're a movie star, you know, you sort of just, you sort of just want more. You sort of want, you know, you want to see what the next level is and, you know, stuff like that. And so, and then he talks about how he got the whole drugs thing. And I don't know, I thought that all worked. I mean, that all worked for me. I thought that was really cool and interesting, and sort of the way they decided to do it with, you know, like you said, he sort of just rises up out of, you know, it was very sort of like Shakespearean to me for some reason.
I agree.
You know,
I agree.
and
Rod
very
Dreamer
like,
made that comparison as well.
Yeah, and so it was, you know, I thought for, you know, for a bank heist movie, you know, with a movie star, you know, that's to me that was an added level of layer of depth, and that you know is not required at all. And you know, I don't know. I think, like I said before, the fact that he is sort of playing a version of himself, and the stuff he says about, you know, following his dreams and sort of, you know, thinking he wants this thing, but, you know, not really knowing what he wants, and you know, and just and the whole thing about, you know, what has he really done, you know, that kind of thing. That's you know, to me that's not many characters contemplate on that level in films, and so you know, at least consciously. So I thought, so that's why it was compelling to me. And the scene, well, you know, the scene towards the end where the robbery's sort of over and you kind of see the sort of nice version of the ending, you know what I mean? When he's kind of the hero. But it's sort of not really what happens.
Yeah.
I thought was really cool because for me, that moment when he sort of does the thing, and it's like, oh crap, like I you know, all of this shit that just happened to him, and he sort of manages to come off like a hero. I'm like, that's great, that's awesome. And then it's just like, oh no, but guess what? Here's the reality. You know, here's how it would really work. And it was cool to have that sort of emotion of it sort of all working out, and then sort of having the rug pulled from under you. And it really not ending the way, you know, not the way I would want it to, you know, because I, you know, I would want it for him to just be able to explain what happened, and the witnesses in there be able to corroborate what he says, and then he sort of gets off, and you know, to me that's fine because it's, you know, it's fair. But the fact that he does serve some jail time, I thought was, you know, was an interesting way to go with it, and it, you know, takes more of a risk. So I don't know. Why the movie works for me, but
I like that. Of course, he uses the opportunity of the robbery, and, you know, even them thinking he's doing it to try to get some money to his lawyers. Because he's got this custody battle.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
And that's sort of his motivation, you know, through the whole movie. That's, you know, that's why he goes into the place originally. And, you know, he basically, like, breaks into the robbery in progress, you know, because he's so insistent on, you know, getting access.
Well, that's the whole thing. He wouldn't have gotten in there if the guy who was the security guard guy was in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
If it was one of the other robbers at the door, they wouldn't have let him in.
Yeah.
You know, so that was the whole thing. It was particularly his who he is in that country. You know, it wasn't just that he was a movie star, but he was that country's star.
Yeah.
You know, so it was a different thing, and I thought that worked. I thought the stuff like when he goes to see his agent and like, you know, or is it? I think it's his agent that, like, you never see. They never really show his face.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this long shot on Jean-Claude as he's sort of, you know, having to deal with these really horrible movies and all this stuff. And I thought that was really cool and awesome and not traditional. You know, that's not how you show a scene like that. You know, you would want to get coverage. You would want to show the other person talking, and even in the next shot, when it's a wider shot, you see the back of the guy, but you never really see his face. And I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I thought that said something about something. I don't know, either with the stance on the agent or whatever. I don't know.
That's a good observation. I liked that, and so they did that in that scene as well as in the scene in the cab when the woman is talking to him. They don't go to her ever. They just sit on him the whole time.
Yeah.
And it sort of makes it about his reaction to what's going on, and sort of the other character that he's reacting to is not. I guess that's why I didn't care about her character much, because sort of the scene makes it about him, not at all about her.
But to me, it's about her because she's instigating this tirade, and it's coming directly from the first time we meet her, which I thought she was really, she's abrasive right off the bat. Like, the video store guys are like, oh, God, we're in love with him. Jean-Claude Van Damme was just here. And she's like, oh, screw that guy. He thinks he's a big whatever. So she's already got, the way the story, is set up, she's already reacting from the cab ride. So for me, I'm like, why is she so anti, what's her big deal? And then when we get to the cab scene, she starts off like, I love you, you're great. And I'm like, okay, where is it that you hate him? What is this thing? And then he goes, oh yes, ma'am, I'm tired. And then she launches this tirade, and I thought it says it's her character. It is about him, but her character is instigating all of that. Her character is the catalyst for that whole scene. Most people, especially in a sort of service industry kind of a situation, she was being rude, but she didn't feel that way. And she was like, all cab drivers in Belgium talk. You should get used to that. She's telling him how to live, and what to react to and what's normal and what's not. And to be telling this to her idol and a celebrity and all that, I thought was just interesting.
I guess I just took it as emblematic of a kind of situation that you can find yourself in as a very famous person, where you're sort of expected to put on a level of courtesy that maybe not everyone else is, because in normal life you're allowed to say you're tired, but somehow it's being rude if you're famous to say that. Like you're kind of obligated to be nicer than that. I felt like it was just an illustration of that. And the character has to behave that way to make that work. But I just really didn't think it was in any way about her. I thought it was really more about him dealing with that situation.
I agree. It is about him dealing with that situation, but to me, it's you have to be able to write a character like that that can make that scene work, and I thought she made it work.
Yeah,
the way they wrote a character.
Yeah, I agree. And the scene with the agent, was similar. I mean, it was about his reaction to what the agent was saying, and not about the agent, specifically. It was just about this situation, and what the agent thought and believed and all that is sort of irrelevant.
Yeah, I like how they did that stuff.
I like those scenes. I mean, that's why I'm giving it 2.5. So I didn't dislike it. It just never took off for me. I never quite was fully engaged by it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I was pretty engaged from the beginning. I mean, once he goes into once that whole robbery starts, I was pretty invested from the and I like how it developed. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I didn't have certain expectations or something. In terms of it taking off, or
I did have expectations. It wasn't at all like what I expected. It really doesn't overemphasize the postmodern aspect of it. And I guess, you know, I wanted to compare it to well, no, I forget about that. I wanted to ask, so what, yesterday you mentioned that that there were two scenes that you really liked and one scene that you didn't like. So I'm curious about what those are.
The two that I liked was the main bad guy's death scene.
Oh, okay.
And the soliloquy scene.
And the soliloquy, okay. Okay.
The one I didn't like was, I think, the very last scene. The daughter scene.
When the daughter comes to visit him in jail.
Yeah.
Okay. Why didn't you like that?
I don't know. I just didn't. Something about, you know. I have to look at it again. I don't. It just didn't. Something about it I didn't like. The build-up was fine, but something about how it. I guess just the note that it ended on, I didn't really like.
I see. I actually liked that. I actually thought I was bracing myself to hate it because when I saw it coming, I imagined how they might play it, and I think it could have been bad. But I actually liked, in this particular case, I liked how they did it. They don't show her; you just see her like from the back. They just show him sort of reacting to it. And furthermore, they don't really show a conversation. Like, they barely, like, say hello. Like, that's all we really get out of the scene. And so they play it fairly ambiguous and fairly unsentimental. Like, they don't bring in nice music or anything. It's a very flat kind of thing. And I actually liked how they did it. If they were going to do a scene like that, I thought that was the way to do it. You know.
I like the scene. I like the setup. I just, maybe it's something about the way, the very last part of the scene, how the note they ended on, I didn't really like. I don't know, something about his reaction to her, or I don't know, something about it just was weird to me. But yeah, the scene overall isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's not really a happy ending, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty ambiguous, but yeah, okay. The bad guy's death. What in particular did you like about that? Was it sort of how it happened, or was it the
how it happened was interesting, and I thought what actually happened. You know, he's got a bullet in his head. Yeah, he's still sort of talking.
Yeah.
And the way they portrayed his character really, to me, made that work. When he would go and he would take those moments to sort of think or whatever, and it was really weird. I don't know. It really worked for me. He really seemed sort of threatening, and sort of this alternate version of the bad guy in No Country. This sort of strangely weird guy who just he's just probably going to just go too far and doesn't really care about anything, and it's just kind of almost not human, So I don't know. I thought that was interesting in the way, and it just I never saw, it's a pretty cool death little scene, and the whole thing that instigates it, I thought was interesting. The whole we said no mothers, and I'm like, okay, yikes.
Oh. Oh, right.
And the fact he was supposed to be a lot older than he looked, and because the guy who shoots him looks older than the other guy, but it's sort of reversed. That he's apparently really young, and then the main bad guy is really old, is old enough to be his dad, he says. So I thought that was weird that they just this whole weird age thing.
I don't think they meant that. I thought the point of that scene was just a setup for the insult.
I guess you could take it either way. I
or
don't know.
The point of that dialogue, like, you're not old enough to be my dad. Well, no, but I'm old enough to have sex with your mom. Like, I thought that was sort of the point. I didn't think they actually meant that he was that old.
Well, he said that the guy with the beard was like 33 or something. I think. Like, I thought he said like early 30s, and he doesn't look early 30s to me.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So when he said when he insinuated that he was old enough to be his dad, I thought that they were telling us that he, for whatever reason, this guy just looks really, really young. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, yeah, the whole no mothers thing, I thought, I mean, I don't know. I guess you could take it that way.
Yeah. That guy did look older. I don't know what to do about that. You might be right, but that was the way I took it at the time. Let's see. So as for the fantasy sequence, that's a device used in movies that I just as a general rule don't like. Where you show the character doing something fairly outrageous, and then pull back and say, but that didn't really happen. That's in their head or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you show the real version. Like that's something that gets used a lot, and in general, I would say I don't like it as a device. I won't say I always don't like it, but in general, I don't. Like there was when I read in the original script for Pulp Fiction, that when Samuel Jackson has Tim Roth and Amanda Plummer in the restaurant at the end at gunpoint, in the script, there's actually a fantasy sequence where he shoots both of them, and then they call it back and play the version of the scene that's in the movie. But he cut that. I'm really glad he did, because I think that would have been a mistake. I think that would have really ruined the flow of that scene. However, in this case, because of the circumstances, what this movie's about, this guy, the whole time, I think subconsciously, if you're familiar with some of Van Damme's movies, I feel like you're at least half expecting him to somehow be a hero in this situation.
And that's, I think, that to me was what is compelling about this, the bank stuff is you're wondering what can he do? What is he willing to do? How much martial arts does he really know? How much does his film training really taught him? What can he, how can he be this hero in real life? And I think you're waiting for that the whole time. And I think you're right. You're sort of subconsciously expecting to see it, and you don't really get it. There's a couple of little things he does, but then you have the sort of fantasy shot where he sort of does the little maneuver and he comes off as the hero. And he what I love is he does the move, and then as soon as he's done, he just flexes. He just puffs his chest up and just does the whole thing, and it's too perfect. And then that's not what happened. But what happened was really close.
Yeah.
What happened was he did subdue the guy, and he did sort of bring the situation to a close, but he got captured as well. So that to me made it work too, was that it wasn't completely different than what actually happened. It was just a little bit better. It was a little bit nicer, than what actually happened.
It was just an extreme version of what happened, rather than a completely different version of what happened.
Yeah, totally.
I agree, but I think it's also it's also satisfying the subconscious desire for him to
Yes.
sort of be the hero of the situation. And by saying that doesn't happen, like I think that's really getting at the sort of, one of the big points of the movie. And so I think that's why it actually works in this case. I actually liked it. It was a good use of that device.
Yeah. And I think it's it's genuinely surprising when it happens because you're like, okay, that's fine. If they want to end the movie like that, fine, okay. But then it's like, oh no, they're going to end it like this.
Yeah. Just a sort of muted version of it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And that's the thing. Like the movie could have been, if they played it up more, it could have been sort of a real movie that he would make, where he has to be the hero in that circumstance. I think that's I think that's good.
I think I really like the movie because I feel like they made, more often than not, they made unusual choices. When it came down to portraying something or shooting a scene, or I think they didn't go with always like the conventional thing to do, which was refreshing. Him having to be on the phone and his mother's like, what are you doing? And having to sort of, having his life being screwed up by this, I thought was pretty interesting. And like I said, I liked all the other sort of, tertiary characters. The inspector guy was interesting. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know. It works for me. I like I said before, I'd give it. I think I said 3.5 or something.
3.5, yeah.
So
minus
an
a half star for that ending.
Yeah. I like the ending. I like he sort of doesn't want to pick up the phone, and then it's like, oh, I got to pick up the phone, and he's sort of shaking and all that. It was something about just that last second. I mean, I gotta watch it again and see if it's there, but I don't know. At the end of it, I was just like, oh, yikes. And it's not a happy ending. He gets, I guess, extortion charges.
Yeah.
And like no one, he's not able to explain himself out of the situation. But it's like somehow that's okay. Somehow he's fine with that. Somehow he feels like that's I don't know. He gets to do some karate teaching and to the prisoners, and and he's making the most of it, and
so it's not like a tragedy either. It's it's just sort of an ambiguous kind of ending. There's good things about it and bad things about it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was good. And I guess I liked how it played. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I didn't notice what you're referring to. Or maybe I like the idea of it, and I didn't pay that much attention to what he was actually doing. I don't know. But it worked for me, the ending at least, which was a good thing. If I thought the ending was crap, I probably would have given it 2 stars.
Yeah.
And I didn't dislike it. I didn't think it was bad. You're right. It made a lot of unconventional choices. It's interesting idea. The characters in many cases are good. All those things are true. It's just that I personally didn't enjoy it that much. I didn't find myself really pulled into it. I was sort of just like, okay, all right, waiting for something to really catch my interest. And so that's why I didn't rate it higher.
So him being involved in the bank robbery wasn't interesting. Like that didn't do it for you. You're waiting for something more than that.
Yeah. I mean, not necessarily something more plot-wise. But I was waiting for some element of what was happening to be really involving, or to really be the thing that gets me in, gets me involved in the story.
Oh, okay. I think that's supposed to be it.
Yeah, I know.
Jean-Claude Van Damme involved in a bank robbery is supposed to be what gets you involved in the story.
Right. No, I know. But I guess I somehow wanted more, or for them to play what they did differently, or something. There was something, something cold about the movie. It was sort of calculating. It's that was a stylistic thing, but it was weird. It didn't do any of what I thought it would do with this idea.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Like the version of this movie I had in my head was just nothing like this at all.
Yeah. I mean, that to me, that's why the movie gets such high marks, is because it's different. It stands out, and yeah, I mean, you hear the idea, and it's not like anything you think it's going to be, and I think that's hard to do. I think that's hard to do. To defy expectations, and maybe there should have been more energy in other parts of the story or something that would have made it better for you. But I think where the movie shines is the other parts that you did get, but not in the, but it's missing that other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's something that I thought would be in the movie that isn't in it that much, which is that people who do these martial arts movies, like, they can be very demanding things to do, and in the first scene he does this one, they show him on set, and there's this really ridiculously long shot where he's just fighting people and rescuing people and shooting, and things are, it goes on and on and on and on. And, at the end he sort of complains that he's like 47 or whatever. And,
yeah.
Like they had a little bit of that idea in there, but like I wanted to, before I saw it, I wanted to think of it as sort of a version of, The Wrestler, which I haven't seen, but according to reviews, it deals to a certain extent with, the very physically demanding aspect of it. It's choreographed, but it's brutal in a way.
When, as they say, when you hit the mat, you hit the mat. You can't fake hitting the mat.
Exactly. And I feel like, doing martial arts movies is sort of similar to wrestling in that way. It's, I
thought they got at that pretty well with that opening scene. I mean, it definitely wasn't about that, but it set up who he was. It's like, hey, here's what and you're used to him doing. Yeah. All this action stuff, and then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, he's 47, and this is hard, and to hit all of the marks, and and it's and then it was all one take and all that stuff, and
right.
I thought they did that pretty well, to be like sort of how they sort of shatter your expectations of that, and then he just walks off the set and into his real world,
Yeah.
I really like how they opened it.
Yeah. No, I agree. It was a good opening. But I've seen like documentary footage of, like, you brought up Jackie Chan earlier, like he suffered these like outrageous injuries on his movies, and it's just like these guys, do these movies to to entertain people and all that, and for their living, but it's like it's like destroying their bodies.
Yeah.
And there's something I don't know. There's something disturbing about it, It's hard to take. And yeah, I guess I thought the movie would be a lot about that, and it really was like a little bit about that.
Yeah.
It was more about like his inward life rather than about the the reality of the on-set life.
Yeah, and I thought that's what's refreshing, is you don't really get sort of that the sort of, I mean, like I said, the whole Sunset Boulevard quality of it all, like just the fading star, stuff. Sitting back and realizing what your life is worth after a certain amount of time, and all that kind of stuff, and that to me is what the movie's about, and that's it's a lot about that. So that's kind of what I was was compelling for me. And then on top of that, the whole bank robbery, and I like those kind of just very simple, dramatic situations of how we're going to get out of this situation, and characters who can sort of be inventive and creative on the spot, and think of things to do, and that drives the plot. I thought they did that pretty well. They used what they had. And the whole just it's just bad timing. This is all just sort of bad timing for him and all that crap. I don't know. So, you saw it. You got the good stuff. You saw the good stuff.
I think so. I feel like I got it to a large degree. But it's interesting, and obviously, as we talk about it, it's there's fodder there for discussion, and I don't know, that tempts me to want to give it more stars, but I guess just as a personal reaction to how I felt about the movie as it was playing and after it was over, I just didn't it didn't get to me that much, but all the things you say about it are true, and I think if you're in any way interested in the concept, you probably it's worth checking out.
Yeah,
so,
I love the scene. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say I love the scene where he's talking to his agent or somebody, and he's like, "Yeah, I got the script for you to do," and he's like, "Isn't it good? I don't know. Did you read it? I don't know." I love that. I just love that. Something about that was just awesome to me. Did you read it? I don't know. And the way the way he says it, and the way his character is it's just I don't know. It just all works. That he doesn't know if he read it. He just he's just not that invested to even say if he read it or not. He just but he's gonna recommend his client do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've known you for 20 years, and I've never done wrong by you. And it's just that can't be true, It can't be true when he's sitting here, depressed and having to take these awful jobs. And, I'll say this, as a, person who is trying to attain a position in the entertainment industry, a lot of that kind of stuff is intrinsically interesting to me. So maybe that's another thing, another level, for me. But and the other big thing is being a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. Getting called that from time to time because of my name. So that. Every now and then I'll get a Jean-Claude Van Damme reference.
Never even occurred to me, but
yeah. My mom threatens that she was gonna name me Jean-Claude. And I think at some point a Vaughn was gonna be somewhere in there. So I think I lucked out with just Claude. But,
I'd say so.
It could have been worse, but. I'm partial to JCVD anyway. But
I have to. I certainly enjoyed those early movies when I was younger. I haven't seen them in a really long. I haven't seen them basically since they came out. So I don't know what I would think about them now. I don't know how I would perceive them now. But I definitely have nostalgia about them, and so I think that's why. I think that's why, as I said earlier, I think that's why Roger Ebert sort of missed the boat because he didn't have that, and I think that's an element in the movie. I think the movie kind of works better if you bring that with you.
Yeah.
Because it kind of plays with what you're expecting or thinking based on those presuppositions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they did talk about. I forgot John Woo directed one of his movies.
Yeah.
I remember that now. That was like on the cusp of where I even knew or cared about who directed the movie. But yeah, I sort of like that bit where they're talking about that, and then he did Face Off, and didn't use him, of course. I don't really like Face Off though, so whatever that's worth. But
you liked it?
No, I didn't.
You didn't like it? Yeah.
No, I didn't like it. At the time, haven't seen it really since it came out either. But I think by that time I'd sort of outgrown the phase where I just liked action movies for their own sake.
Mm-hmm.
Or was starting to maybe. And yeah, I just didn't find that. I probably liked a few more after that, but I guess at a certain point I wanted something extra. But the thing I remember about the Van Damme movies is that they were very, they gave you the goods on the martial arts. There was a lot in there.
Yeah.
And in excruciating detail with like slow motion and they would repeat shots so you'd really see what happened, and it was, I remember it being sort of more thorough about that than than other movies of that type.
Yeah, definitely.
They all seem interchangeable. I was looking at the titles and I was like, I really don't know the difference between, Nowhere to Run,
Bloodsport and Lionheart,
and Lionheart and Kickboxer and Double Impact,
yeah.
and like I really couldn't tell you what the distinction is. That to me at the time they were all sort of the same. It wasn't about what the specific plot of the movie was. That wasn't sort of what you went to it to see.
No, you didn't. You didn't go for the plot of the movie. It was all about Van Damme's character and what is he going to do, and I mean he's the only reason anyone saw Universal Soldier.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I read according to
movies.
Wikipedia that they're actually going to do another Universal Soldier sequel. God, that's hard to say.
Like number 4?
I think it is number 4, but this time they're going to bring Dolph Lundgren back.
Oh wow!
So it'll be both of them, and they're late 40s as the Universal Soldiers.
Put Schwarzenegger in there.
Why not?
Jeez, have a reunion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I did see that movie, of course, and I in that one it was less about the martial arts because they were like these cyborg things. I didn't
that was sort of the end of all of his heyday.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, according to Wikipedia, like the last movie of his that was released theatrically was in like the slightly past the mid, like 97 or 98 or something like that. And I think it was the Universal Soldier sequel.
Oh yeah.
Universal Soldier. I find that hard to say.
Universal Soldier.
I want to say Universal Soldier or something. I trip up on that R thing. Universal Soldier. Okay. Sound it out. Anyway, and since then they've all been direct to video until this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then it said, that they were going to do this another sequel and actually bring back Dolph Lundgren, which is weird. It makes me think somehow it has something to do with this movie. Like it gives him a little credibility. Like he does actually get to act in the movie. He
gets to act, and I think he's really good.
I agree.
And what's interesting to me is I was reading some interviews about this movie, and I think the question was, about the soliloquy scene. Was he acting or was that, real stuff? And I think the director was like, yeah, he's acting.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I was sort of surprised, but I'm like, that's good.
Yeah.
That's what he should be doing. He really convinced me that he was really feeling all that stuff, and that was, he's pouring his heart out. And you don't get to see action stars do that,
No.
You don't see Schwarzenegger doing,
No.
talk about the trials and tribulations and because I think there's something that whole, I mean, people are drawn to celebrities and drawn to the quest for fame and stories that, when you sort of see the price of fame and all that are, they are interesting. And get to see sort of people talking about that is interesting. So yeah, so when he sort of has that thing, it I thought that was so ingenious. I don't know. I thought that was ingenious to just stop the film for a second, and sort of them literally take him out of the scene, and it's like, now let's pause for a moment with Jean-Claude, and then they go right back into it. That you just don't see that a lot.
Right.
That was like a Kaufman move or something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The movie could have just been totally conventional. It could have been totally just really lame and really predictable. I didn't really think the movie was predictable. I didn't know how they were going to resolve the bank robbery. When you see the tensions build between the robbers, but there's this weird thing going on with sort of the guy with the beard and the main bad guy, and you don't really know what's going on with those guys. They have that scene where he's pointing the gun at him, and he just kind of slaps it down, and it's like, are they what's their relationship? Because it's weird. And yeah, I just looked at the thing, and it said he basically says he's 52. And the other guy's 32, and then that's when he says, I slept with your mother. So I feel like they were saying that's true, and and that was weird to me. And then the whole, like, we said no mother thing, and it's, it gives them this sort of backstory, and it gives them this sort of history, just a little bit of that, that was a little bit extra, I think, because this isn't their first robbery and all that stuff, and what is this agreement that they made, and those little things. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It wasn't predictable. I had no idea where any of it was going, really. From moment to moment, I had no idea what they were doing, really.
Yeah.
The only scene that I found predictable was the scene where they ask JCVD to the guy asked JCVD to pick the cigarette out of the guy's mouth, and then he wants to do it. Yeah. Like the punchline, I knew way in advance what was going to happen there. That's
I agree. That was the only thing that was predictable, but I think they weren't trying to hide it. I mean, they gave him a long build up when he's trying to do it, and he's what was he doing? He was doing this weird lunge forward thing, and it's like that. If you're trying to kick, you're not lunging forward. Like, what are you doing? It was like a little moment for comedy there. And I thought it was, I was curious if Van Damme was going to be able to do it. I'm like, is this, are they going to say this is really easy, or are they going to say, he hasn't done that move in a while or something, and then he does, and then it's like, okay, cool. And then the other guy's like, okay, now I want to do it. And I like that. I liked his character. He was very sort of like childlike, and there's something wrong with him. But I like that, like, please just do me this one thing, and he's like, okay, and then he's like, oh, okay, yeah, now I want to do it, because I'm thinking he's gonna try to make him do some other stuff, but he's like, no, now I want to do it.
Yeah.
And then the whole little thing with Van Damme telling the guy to stand back, and he's already he's judging the distance, and he's like, yeah, you're too close, and just his ability to sort of know where you got to be to do something like that, I thought was cool. And yeah, I am just really into martial arts stuff. I really am. I was watching that movie Forbidden Kingdom, and I'm just watching the fights, and I'm so thrilled. I don't know. I think it has to do. I like. To me, what's interesting about martial arts is the ability to. I think there's somehow, for me, I get the sense that there's the more skilled you are, the more sort of there's this sort of intellectual component to it. I think to sort of be able to when they're having these crazy wushu fighting scenes and stuff in the Matrix and all that stuff. It's you've got to sort of be really aware of what's going on to sort of be doing that stuff. What's my counter move? What's his move? What am I going to do? And, you're doing all this in rapid succession, and there's this sort of the better you are, it's it's this, I don't know, it's just this thing about that's really interesting to me. So in this movie, when you see Jackie Chan and Jet Li fighting each other, I'm like, this is too cool. How is this not awesome? Who's gonna win out? Who's gonna win this? Jackie Chan or Jet Li? It's insane. It's awesome.
Yeah. Jackie Chan must be getting pretty old at this point.
Dude.
How long can he do that? Oh,
Jackie
God.
Chan, man, I tell you.
He's an institution.
He really is. He really is.
He's carved out a little thing for himself, and there really isn't anybody who compares in reputation for the particular kind of thing he does.
He's funny too. He's got a particular kind of some sort of comedy thing, because when in this movie, his character says some things that's just totally Jackie Chan. It's totally what Jackie Chan's style of comedy is.
Yeah.
When it comes to martial arts. Very I don't know, old comedy, just very classic and simple, and just, sort of slapsticky and stuff. Yeah. Jackie Chan's pretty interesting. What are you gonna do about that guy?
I don't know. But yeah, never heard of it, of course. I mean, Jackie Chan's probably made 100 movies at this point. I've only heard of a very few of them. It was in English though, or not?
Yeah, it was in English. Yeah, it was in English. There's a couple of subtitled parts, but it's basically it's if I was 12, it's probably my favorite movie of all time or something.
I see.
So you gotta watch it with that in mind, I think. But because it's about a kid, and it's sort of a kidsy movie. But I think the martial arts stuff, it plays really well. That definitely works. They don't. It's not kiddie in that sense. It's a good martial arts film,
right?
And they've got some pretty cool effects. But it's fantasy.
Yeah.
He's fighting. Sort of some people are immortal, and there's a witch lady who can throw her hair at you, and it'll lasso you like a whip and all. It's that kind of kung fu movie. But but it's fun.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I think that's kind of his thing. More lighthearted martial arts movies.
Yeah.
Definitely he's famous for doing his own stunts and all that, and very skillful and all that. But not as dire as some of the movies that
Jet Li does.
Yeah, Jet Li does, or Van Damme did, or The Matrix or Kill Bill or whatever, which have more serious tones and very intense violence. So yeah, it's a separate thing. It's but I could imagine really enjoying that at that age as well. I have to say, based on this movie, I'm curious to watch some of those old movies and see how they look in 2009. See what current me thinks of them. Because I really have no idea. I have only very vague memories of what they're like. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll say something about that someday.
Yeah, there's definitely, I would definitely love to see some of those old movies.
Yeah, there's sort of a stretch there from like the late '80s, of course, to the mid '90s where I had heard of all of them. I'm like, yeah, I saw all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the ones I wanna watch again.
I think I remember Time Cop coming out and being like, all right, Van Damme, and then Street Fighter was another like I want to see it because Van Damme's in it. I guess it was. I mean, I saw all of these. I saw Double.
I never
Legionnaire.
actually saw Street Fighter.
Oh man, you didn't see it?
No, I never did. That was just past the phase where I would have. It missed me by like 2 years.
Oh, yeah, dude, it was bad.
I know. It got atrocious reviews. It didn't sound good, and I wasn't even that interested in it, so I just never bothered to watch it.
You saw the Super Mario Brother movie?
I didn't see that either for the same reason.
Oh, what? Oh, man. That's a shame, because you can't, if you watch it now, it's not the same,
I know.
It's not the same. They're both bad movies, but I did like the Super Mario Bros. Movie at the time, but it's pretty bad. But I was going to say Street Fighter is a little worse. But yeah, you missed those, huh?
I did. I never saw either. Dennis Hopper plays the bad guy in Super Mario movie, right?
Yeah, I guess he is in that.
He's the whatever you call him, that guy. I don't know. I
don't remember either. I forget forget a lot of that movie. I remember John Leguizamo.
Oh yeah.
Bob Hoskins.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah, Dennis Hopper's King Koopa, yeah. It was a weird movie because, it was like Mario and Luigi were kind of the same from the game, but, obviously, but real, but they kind of like, Koopa wasn't Koopa. He was just like a guy.
Right. He wasn't literally a lizard.
Yeah.
Or a dragon or whatever the fuck that guy was.
A lizard dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he was.
A fire-breathing, axe-throwing lizard dragon.
Somebody says, bad in 93, awesome in 08. Wow. Yeah, 93. That was the turning point. I think it was just right on the crux of where I would have watched it. And I just happened to. What were you watching?
I think I know Pulp Fiction came out in '94, and right before that, like I want to say like Natural Born Killers. I was a big fan of, and like The Crow.
So you watched all that stuff when you were 12. I'm still watching the kids' movies.
Yeah, I guess I say 12 and I mean 10 or something. Because yeah, when I was 13, 12 is like pushing it. 12 I was probably still in that other world. But yeah, I kind of switched over 13, 14 to different thing. Still like enjoying the action and stuff like that, but I guess wanting a little more out of the movies, than the pure spectacle that I was perfectly satisfied with earlier. So yeah, I guess I do mean more like 9, 10, 11, something like that. It was definitely a number of years. I think Time Cop might have been the last one I watched.
Yeah.
And it was sort of different, because, it was about time travel and being a cop. So it wasn't really like one of his classic movies.
Oh, Double Team. Yeah, that was horrible. That's the one with Dennis Rodman.
Which?
It was Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Yeah, it was bad. Oh, man. Double Team.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot of mess.
When was that made?
That was 97.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was way out of it by then. And Mickey Rourke. Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't watching too many of these by then.
They don't play by the rules.
I remember Legionnaire coming out and not seeing that. Maybe The Quest was the last one I saw in the theater. Well, I definitely saw Double Team, so that would have been the last one. Oh, I didn't see The Quest. I remember that.
Oh, Sudden Death? Is that the one about the hot? I saw that one. I saw Sudden Death. That was the last one. I didn't like it. I remember not liking it.
It's the one about what?
It's the one about the, there's a hockey place, arena. Takes place in a hockey arena.
Is it a rink?
Rink, maybe. Sure. And there's some kind of thing that happens.
Oh. Yeah, I feel like I saw that. I don't remember seeing it, but the name sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Maximum Risk.
Yeah, I missed, yeah, these are, oh man, what a stretch.
Yeah.
What a stretch. I never saw Cyborg or Black Eagle.
He's the hero of the 21st century. God, that was so easy to say back in '89.
Is that the tagline?
That's the tagline for Cyborg.
Wow. Yeah. They'd like to do that. Make him a cyborg.
Yeah, Lionheart. I remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, Lionheart. That was the one about, like, his brother was killed or something, and he had to go get revenge.
Oh, I don't know what it was about.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know. I don't remember any of the plot lines.
For some reason, I remember that one.
Oh, man.
But it was like, it seemed like it was just like outdoor, informal martial arts fighting.
Yeah, I think it was some underground thing.
Yeah, it was sort of like the Fast and Furious of martial arts.
Mm-hmm. JCVD.
And I remember that movie having like a lot of, like in the fight scenes, having just a lot of slow motion and like if you would punch somebody, they would sort of replay the punch rapidly like 5 times or something.
Mhm.
It was very like stylized and dragging it out a lot, which I really liked at the time.
Hard Target.
Yeah, that
Don't
was
hunt
1990.
what you can't kill.
So, a Hard Target, yeah. Oh God. That's the John Woo one, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I remember that. The New Orleans one. Yeah. Yeah, I was a big fan of that one.
Well, should we get going on the LLD?
Maybe so.
All right.
Let's see. Wow, that was a long time. Okay. I didn't think I was going to go that long. Okay. Let's mark down that time. Okay.
Did we need to sign off or something for this, or?
Oh, should we?
Is this gonna be a Mr. Showdown?
Yeah,
Slowdown?
I was going to put it up as Mr. Podcast.
Podcast, there it is.
Yeah.
We never say anything at the end.
No, we don't have a thing. It's a problem every time.
It's a problem every time.
We always talk about how we don't have a thing.
There's nothing to say goodbye.
I agree. Bye for me.